All right, Rob G, bring us up to speed. We know Trevor Lawrence last night, big upset. Jacksonville falls to the Cincinnati Bengals, and by 3 points in overtime, Jake Browning, back up for the Bengals, Rob, came in, had a fantastic game.
Once in a lifetime game.
Yeah. I mean, some people are expecting more. I hope they're not expecting that more often.
Yeah, good luck.
But but he was great yesterday. Threw for 300-plus yards, 1 touchdown, ran for another as they upset Jacksonville. And Cincinnati keeps its playoff hopes alive, Rob. But for Trevor Lawrence, of course, sprains an ankle. And fortunately, it is just a high ankle sprain. Looked like it was much worse maybe when he went down. But now they're talking like, he may only miss 1 game or maybe more. But they even talking about like it's a possibility he could play Sunday. I seriously doubt that. But fortunately, it looks like he won't be out the rest of the season or anything like that. So the thing is, Rob, he is just one of many NFL quarterbacks, of course, who is injured this season. And there have been a plethora of players, quarterbacks, who have gone down to injury. Rob G, come in, kind of bring us up to speed on that, and then what is popping on social media regarding all this.
Sure. So here's the list of quarterbacks that have injured this season. Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow out for the season. Aaron Rodgers out for the season. Kirk Cousins out for the season. Deshaun Watson out for the season. Anthony Richardson out for the season. Daniel Jones out for the season. That's not counting guys like Kenny Pickett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, who are going to miss 1 to multiple weeks for various injuries, right? As things stand right now in the AFC playoff race, 4 of the 7 teams that would be in it today have backup quarterbacks. And you mentioned Trevor Lawrence. He may or may not play next week. I'm assuming he's not going to. But with the assumption that he won't play, at least he'll miss week 14. It sets up, these are some of the quarterback matchups we're going to get in the NFL in week 14. Bailey Zappi, Mitch Trubisky. C.J. Beathard versus Joe Flacco. Gardner Minshew versus Jake Browning.
Gesundheit.
Baker Mayfield versus Desmond Ridder. Josh Dobbs versus Aiden O'Connell. Bryce Young versus Jameis Winston. And all of which has spawned a social media discourse amongst fans and some sports media members alike saying, we can't have this. This is bad for the NFL. All these backup quarterbacks, it makes for a bad product. What can the NFL do to ensure that we don't have situations like this moving forward?
Nothing. What, you want more protection for the quarterback, Rob? What media members, Rob, are calling for stuff? They're legitimate media members calling for something?
I'd like to know because
you
none
agree
of it
with
makes
me, Rob?
sense. Yeah,
look, anything more and the quarterbacks are playing touch football.
But Chris, I grew up when I was watching football. They had in the grasp. You didn't even have to bring the quarterback down. If you had his jersey, Chris, they would credit you with a sack.
Yep.
In the grasp. They did that because there was a year when they lost like 8 or 9 starting quarterbacks from guys, Lawrence Taylor. I'm talking about in the day. I wasn't in the media, Chris. I was just a football fan watching it. And they were Joe Montana used to get roughed up. All these players, quarterbacks, were roughed up. The Giants, when they won the second quarterback, Chris, second Super Bowl with Bill Parcells.
Jeff Hofstra.
Phil Simms won the quarterback. He got hurt.
Right.
I could go on and on and on. So they came up with all of these janky rules, including in the grasp. Go back and watch when Michael Strahan set the record for sacks, Chris, against Brett Favre.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yep.
He barely touched him, and they called that a sack. It's like the worst, record-breaking moment I've ever seen in sports.
Well, Favre just went along with him.
You remember that? Yeah, here it is. I'm giving myself up and fell down.
Right. No, I mean, Rob, and look, we haven't had a ton of quarterbacks getting injured every year for the last 5 to 10 years. This is an aberration. This is a strange year. I don't know why all of a sudden this year you had so many quarterbacks getting injured. But, Rob, I just think it's a fluke year. Because, again, Last year, we didn't have this. We don't have this every year. Lamar Jackson's had a few injuries, but I think that's just kind of Lamar.
Chris, there's
I
nothing
think
left to do.
Joe Burrow is injury prone, period.
That happened before he got in the NFL.
He got injured this year's calf injury, which he ultimately overcame, and then it was a wrist. But the calf injury, Rob, he was in practice rolling out. Nobody touched him. And so I'm with you. Like, there is nothing that can or should be done. I think we have to just look at this as an aberration, a strange year. Look, Josh Allen's one of the most physical quarterbacks there is, and he's not hurt.
Oh, wait a minute. I did come up with an idea. We can do something. Let me stop. We can bubble wrap all the quarterbacks and put them out there. I mean, other than that, Chris, there's nothing left.
No, it's
they've
like
already
I said,
been protected.
Else
like
they're playing touch football,
like anything. Like, you cannot do anything. You can't roll on them. You can't fall on top of them.
Right?
You can't do anything.
You got 300-pound defensive linemen tackling, sacking quarterbacks, Rob, and making sure they don't put their weight on them.
Right.
I mean, my goodness.
They've done it all to try to help, but football is a physical game, Chris.
Yes.
People get hurt, and I get it. The NFL is harder to watch without good quarterbacks. It just is.
No doubt. Those matchups aren't intriguing.
They're just not intriguing or
Read
entertaining,
out loud.
make you want to watch, Chris. It's just not the case. And it's disappointing. And that's what we talk about all the time. I just cannot get over how few quarterbacks there are. They're just like, when I look at the backups and the other guys who are around, my God, aren't there 100 college football teams, Chris? And there's like 9 quarterbacks in a country of 330 million people. They're like 9 competent quarterbacks.
It's hard to do, man. That, to me, that's the hardest thing in sports. It's the hardest position to play. So that's why they get paid the huge money. At least, the ones that are the best deserve it. And then you got everybody else cashing in as well. But, look at some of the injuries. Aaron Rodgers, Achilles, he's 40 years old. Okay? Usually you aren't playing football at that age. All right? Tua is not hurt. He's one that's been injury prone. He's not hurt. Lamar's not hurt. I mentioned Josh Allen not hurt. Joe Burrow, injury prone. Deshaun Watson, it just sometimes you get injured. That's right. All you can chalk him. Can he pick it up to? The Anthony Richardson for the Colts, a rookie, plays a style. He runs a lot, and he's a physical player himself. Got hurt. Trevor Lawrence, kind of flukish injury with the ankle. Somebody got pushed into him backwards and rolled onto his ankle. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is still standing, thank God. Who else is hurt? I'm looking through the teams right now. Derek Carr, what was it, Rob G, with him? Was it a concussion with Carr?
Concussion and a shoulder.
Yeah, and a shoulder. And then, Rob, I'm looking through these guys. Kirk Cousins, he's older as well. He has an Achilles injury. And that's Daniel Jones.
Stafford missed some games, Chris, for the Rams. He was out.
Yeah. So
I'm curious as fans, what do they want to see? Do you want better protection for quarterbacks, or it is what it is, and we got to go this way? I think they're going to be people, Chris, who basically want them to be in bubble wrap and be guarded.
Put a red jersey out there.
Yes, and don't touch them at all. You could say like, "Hey, boo, I tackled you or I sacked you," and you got to, Rob, I don't know what else is left.
Rob G, you mentioned media members. Really, are there legitimate media members out there?
Yes. Now, in full disclosure, most of them who are complaining about it are in the fantasy football space.
Okay.
Because obviously that's where their bread is buttered, is by seeing the stars perform.
Oh, most of the media.
Yeah. The ones that I saw, the ones who were complaining about it, it's like, nobody, it doesn't benefit anybody when Jake Browning is throwing 350 yards in fantasy football.
That makes sense, though, Chris.
You know what I mean?
But
I get it. My answer is sorry. But I get it, Rob. You and I grew up in a time when football wasn't king. And what's made it king is fantasy football. Make no mistake about it. It's the gambling and the
fantasy football, Chris.
Yep.
100%. Before fantasy football, I tell people all the time, when they took Monday Night Football off of the network and all kinds of other stuff that was going on, they had to have blackouts because people wouldn't buy tickets to go. Don't kid yourself. And fantasy football changed that.
So that's significant that they feel that way, but I'm sorry. I don't want to see any more safety rules. Rob, we saw it in the Chiefs game Sunday night. The Packers defender hit Patrick Mahomes. Now, he hit him hard. Mahomes was fine, but he hit him hard as Mahomes was going out of bounds. Mahomes was still in bounds, and they gave him a penalty because he hit Mahomes near the sideline. It was a clean hit, but they protected the quarterback. And I was upset with that.